Hello Space Cat chums, it's me Jules with a very special, probably a little bit longer video than usual. I am going to show you how to draw a portrait of a loved one, maybe a family member or a dear friend. It is coming up to that time of year. I'm not going to mention the actual word because it sends some people into an anxiety stasis. But if you did want to create something for somebody really special, perhaps a picture with you and them in it together, then that would be a really lovely gift. And all it would cost you really is some of your time and your creative power. Win-win! So what will you need? A pencil, a piece of layout or tracing paper, a black pen, I'm going to use a ballpoint pen, some colouring pencils and a piece of cartridge paper or smooth watercolour paper, or any other paper that you have that is suitable for coloured pencil. Oh, and a clear headshot of the person that you want to draw. You might also like to think about what they normally wear. If it's jeans and a t-shirt, then that's really straightforward. But if they are very flamboyant or wear something very particular, then you might like to try and sneak a picture of them wearing it, so you've got that for reference. Pause the video if you need to get some supplies, otherwise, let's crack on. Here I have a picture, a random guy that I just chose from searching for a man. And I've got a biro, this is a Bic, and a soft pencil. So I'm going to use this chap as my reference, and I'm going to think about the shape of his head. So obviously he's got his beard and his hair is quite thick on the top, so really we're looking at a shape that goes a bit like this. Just kind of tall oval shape for his face, and then his ears are going to be about halfway down the side of his head. And I'm going to draw his nose in first. So his nose is going to take up this sort of central part of his face, and I'm just going to do that shape. It's like an upside down question mark almost, and his eyebrows are going to be across the top here. I'm going to draw his eyes next, and because he's got fairly sort of hooded eyes, you can only see part of his pupil. So instead of making a round shape, I'm going to make another oval shape like that, and then I'm going to give him some eyelids. So I would normally do a circle for eyes, but I'll show you that when I draw the person next to him. And because he's going to be with somebody, and that could be you, or it could be somebody else who he knows really well, then I'm going to draw his eyes looking at that person. So his pupils go to the left of both of those ovals. And I'm also just going to do, because he's got quite sort of baggy underneath his eyes, just a little line to show that there is some characterization there as well. And then onto his eyebrows. He's got big bushy eyebrows. So you might find that your person has got very particular shaped eyebrows, so take note of that. And then he's got quite a lot of darkness. This is his eyes are sort of set in quite a recess, so he's got this dark area that his eyelid is actually lit, but behind his eyelid up to his brow is quite dark. So I'm going to give him that sort of dark area like that. And then his mouth, if you have a quick look at his lips, the top lip actually kind of comes down into a really rather beautiful V shape. So I'm going to make sure that I put that on, and he's also smiling. So the edges of his mouth is going up, the middle is going down like that, and then there's his bottom lip. And then you don't get to see much of his top lip because of all that moustache, so I'm just going to draw the moustache in. And the beard at the side is quite short, and then it's longer as it gets down to the chin. Something like that. And then his hair, so this is actually going to be where his hairline starts, because as I said, his hair is quite tall. He's got a little bit of hair that comes in towards his eyebrows, that sort of side of his sort of forehead side. And then his hair is going to be, it's quite curly and sort of swept back, and then quite tall, kind of that shape. And she's just going to bring it down a little bit in that middle area. Okay, I'm just going to do a little tiny bit of shading on his bottom lip to show that we can see that area. Tidy that up a bit. And then I'm going to give him his clothes. So he's got a shirt on. First thing I'm going to do is draw a V, a sort of sloping V going downwards, and then a line straight down the middle. And then if you have trouble drawing clothes, I have made a video on how to draw things like shirts, so I'll link it up above and you can go and check that out. So this is his collar. Let's give him some shoulders as well. And then the next thing I'm going to draw is the cuffs on his arms. They are slightly out from under his shoulder so that his arm can join that. Make that shoulder a bit longer, like that. And then from the cuff I'm going to draw a Y shape, and the same on the other side. And then his arms. This is a really good way of being able to draw somebody's arms without drawing their hands. So this arm goes straight across to the other side and slightly dips down. That's where his hand is. And then this arm, I'm just going to draw a little bit of his elbow to about halfway, and it starts to slope up a little bit. And then this arm, this is his elbow, kind of just goes beyond that and meets that line like that. So the arms kind of meet in the middle there. So there's the first layout for this chap. I might want to be next to you, so let's again draw an oval shape, and this time I'm going to draw the nose the same, and this time I'm going to draw circular eyes, again with little eyelids, because this, we're going to imagine this person's eyes are a bit more open, and this person is also looking at him, so those pupils are in the right side of the eyeball. Nice smile, and then some eyebrows. Let's give this person a neck, shoulders, and they can be standing slightly behind this person, so you might want to give them a round necked t-shirt, something like that. Again, a Y shape, and then really that's it for the clothes, because this person's arms are kind of behind that person's arms. But what about the hair? Let's just give them a side parting. Something like that. You might not see the ears because the hair might go in front of the face. Okay, so that is our layout. So now what we're going to do is take this over to, I'm going to go to my Lightbox. You might want to go to your window and stick this to your window, and then over the top of that stick your piece of cartridge paper or your watercolour paper. You can see on my Lightbox I've got the light shining from behind, which is exactly what will happen if you've got your picture taped to a window. I've got the drawing I've just done on the Lightbox with the cartridge paper over the top, and you can see through it fairly easily, but it's not so transparent that I'm distracted by it if I want to make any adjustments. I'm going to be using the biro now to fill in and redraw what I've just done, but now with a bit more confidence because I can see what I've already drawn underneath and I know where everything is. I'm going to leave a little bit of white for the reflection in his eyes. And his eyebrows. I'm going to leave that dark shadow on his eyelid for when I use the colouring pencils rather than shade it in with the biro. What I'm going to do here and why it's good to have transparent paper like layout paper is I'm going to move the paper up just slightly and adjust the length of his face. It gives him a little bit more space between his nose and mouth. I want to give his moustache a bit more space so I can draw the individual hairs on his lip and beard. Biros and ballpoint pens are great for drawing with, and I think they have been unfairly judged and much maligned over the years, but actually you can get some really good effects with the ballpoint pen. And also, it doesn't have to be black, you can use any colour you want. Not forgetting his ears. And that hair that comes in slightly towards the temple. And I'm just going to give him some more texture on his hair. This guy, as I said before, is just a random chap I found on the internet. Not something I ever thought I'd hear myself say. Hopefully you will know your person much better and be more familiar with the hair or clothes they wear. And also the height comparative to you if you're going to draw both of you. And you'll know kind of how they stand or the sort of things they like to do. So for example, if they're a keen hiker, you might want to put a very simple mountain in the background. Or if they like tea and scones, why not make a little teacup border? There's our man. Now I'm going to draw the lady with him. Let's imagine they're best friends. Again, eyebrow shape is really important. He has really big bushy ones and the woman has well-defined arched brows. They really do help tell the story of their character. I'm also going to give her a couple of little eyelashes at the sides of her eyes. Here's her chin, but don't forget we've got hair coming down the side of her face, so you won't see that, or her ears. There we go, I can take this back to the table of creative shenanigans now. You do also want to think about how you're going to present this. Are you going to put it in a frame, a cardboard frame? In which case, place your cardboard frame over the top of your drawing and just do a very light pencil mark around the area that you need to colour and fill. But I'm just going to imagine that I'm going to give it to them as is, like this. And I'm not going to do a background. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a little heading up the top here. It says best friends. So in my own quirky kind of handwriting typeface, I'm just going to very lightly in pencil put the word best friends. And you'll notice it's slightly curved as well and not completely flat. If you want it flat, get yourself a ruler and a little heart. So back with my biro, I'm just going to fill that in. And the good thing about doing something that's hand lettering that's a bit quirky is it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it shouldn't be. There we go, and then the little heart. And then when I'm sure that has completely dried, I will rub out the pencil. So I've got here a random supply of different coloured pencils. They're mostly in the sort of brown tones, and I've got a little bit of pinky and a bit of white, because this person, well, if it's based on somebody a bit like me, she's going to be quite pasty. He is dark toned, so we're going to start with him, and I'm going to pull up, I think I'm going to use, let's go with mustard to start with, because that comes out quite yellowy, just as a sort of base tone. Being very careful not to go over his eyeballs, because I want those to stay white. I'm probably going to end up giving him dark brown pupils. This can all be quite quick and rough. Chestnut, just going to test that. Yep, chestnut looks good. So this is much more bringing in a little more red into the tone. Oh, I forgot his ears. But leave the mustardy colour as a little bit of reflection of this, you know, highlights really of the light. If the light is coming from this direction, let's imagine the sun is over here. So where will the highlights be of the skin? Probably here, on this cheek, the nose, maybe this part of the forehead. So we can do a little bit of shadow here where his hair is throwing that bit of his face into shadow, and also this side of his face will be in shadow. That arm is going to be probably mostly in shadow, apart from maybe a tiny little bit on his elbow. I'm going to now take a darker brown. Let's find... Let's see what I've got. Charcoal grey. I'm going to use charcoal grey for his hair and his beard, and I'm going to leave some white areas as reflection to show how shiny his hair is, because in the photograph his hair was super shiny. I don't know what he's been using, but let me know, because I'd love to have hair shiny like that. And then beard. I'm going to do his lips, and I've got Shiraz for his lips, although I think what I'll probably end up doing, so that it doesn't look like he's wearing lipstick, I'm going to go over that as well with a little bit of the chestnut colour. and then they can blend a bit. That colour reference, there we go. Okay, now his eyes, I'm going to go probably with, the russet. I'm going to do his eyelids, but I'm going to leave a little bit of highlight, and I'm not at all on that one because it's behind the nose. And then I'm going to go into that area that I spoke about to begin with, that's very dark, behind his eyelid, between the eyelid and his eyebrow. And in a minute I'm going to come back to do the eyebrows. And then we really need to get the look of the shadow around his nose. Oh, and I know what else I've left out. I'm going to just pick my pen up again. I left out those little lines under his eyes. So here is going to be an area of highlight, so I'm not going to go near that. I'm just going to go this side of his eye. This is actually really nice, this russet. These are Derwent graphite pencils. Graphitint, I beg your pardon. And again, this, so to the right of his nose on his face, just a little bit, because that area is going to have highlight. Okay, I'm going to pick a colour for his pupils. I'm going to use Willow, and I think this is one of the things that I always do, and I always suggest to people when they're doing any kind of portrait, is give the right iris colour, because it really does bring the picture to life. Charcoal grey again for his eyebrows. And then, oh, I've missed his chest, so I'm just going to give that a little bit of skin tone. And I've got a green for his shirt. I'm going to give him a checked shirt. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is a representation of your person. It is not meant to be a portrait in real life. This is just something nice that you can give someone for a present. You and them together. Okay, I'm going to move over to female. So she, like me, is much pastier. I'm just going to go in with some white to start with, just to give that a little bit of a covering, so that when I go in with the Shiraz, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold my pencil at the side, and I'm going to go in very, very lightly with the very tip of my pencil, because I don't want tons and tons and tons of pigment to come off. And then pick up the white again to just blend it all a bit. I'm going to use Willow for her hair and just follow the lines that I've already done. I've already drawn, just to show the direction her hair is going in. And her eyebrows. Maybe she's wearing a little bit of eyeshadow. Let's give her some green. which also is quite nice because it ties in with the green of his shirt. And I'm going to give her an orange top. I'm just going to colour this in a block colour. And these pencils are actually part of the Derwent water soluble range, so if I wanted to I could get myself a pot of clean water and a paintbrush and just blend that all really nicely. I've got a colour called Iris Blue, so I'm going to use that on her irises. There they are, both looking at one another. Now with my eraser, I'm going to go and take out those pencil lines. Ballpoint pens do definitely dry much quicker than the pens I normally use, the Tombos or a dip pen with ink, so you can quite easily go in with those fairly soon after you've done them. That had about 10 minutes to dry. And then again with my Shiraz, I'm just going to do the heart. Follow what I've done and see if you can create something for your special person. Don't be too despondent if it didn't go right the first time. Remember, this is supposed to be a caricature type picture, not kind of perfect lifelike reality. Next week we'll be looking at how to do this for your pets. Yes, you can immortalise your mum's cat without using cryonics. I'm off to bake a bean. I only want one. Don't want to fill myself up. I will see you next week. Nanu nanu.